starting at, we'll probably start around 6. I think Alex Jones will take the chair around 6:30. And he's going to have a very special guest. I'm not allowed to say who the special guest is. It is not a person, though.
Oh, it's not a person.
I'll say that, I guess. I can probably let it out.
Speaking of the race, this picture of Doug Jones behind me, I was looking at it. He looks a little bit like Grimace. Is that the name? The purple McDonald's?
Yeah. I was thinking more, you put a butcher's robe on him covered with blood and give him a meat cleaver, and he looks like a type of serial killer.
Yeah,
but,
that too.
You know, I don't want to judge.
Shark eyes.
Who am I to judge? I'm just a dude. All right, let's finish up with Chaplin back in North Carolina. Go ahead and finish your point, sir.
Hey, brother, you really made me happy when you were talking about putting him in a butcher's outfit, murdering little babies.
Yeah, that's kind of what he wants to do.
Yeah, all of them. I don't know what the problem is. Well, I do know what the problem is. They're mentally deranged. And, I buy all at what I can afford, Alex's, the products that you have, you know. The silver, coral silver, the B12 and different things. And every one of them is excellent. If you want to laugh, if all the people want to laugh, and here, I lost my bottle of B12. I don't know what happened to it. It was in my car, because I keep stuff in my car, too, you know? And all of a sudden, it just disappeared. I don't know if somebody took it or what.
Now you let somebody have a taste. That silver, the B12 is really good. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I buy them, and it's really, like I said about Roy Moore, they don't love us. They really don't. They want to kill the babies. I always you see it. You can watch the live chat. 80 million babies plus, because we don't know the ones that's not recorded have been slaughtered by these people.
Yeah, who said something really interesting about abortion? And I'm going to let you go, Chaplin. It was Louis Farrakhan. We interviewed him. We were talking about, his stance on abortion. And he said, the cure for cancer, the cure for everything that ails us, our future is inside a woman's womb. So when we go out and we kill that baby and put him under the knife like that, we're killing the chance for a cure for cancer or for the betterment of our future, because that is where the next leader is going to be. That's where the next scientist is going to be. And I never looked at it like that. I mean, I was always, very pro-life. But after looking at it like that, I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. Because we don't know where that person's going to come from. Yep. We don't know what they're going to look like, what their socioeconomic background is going to be. But we do know if we kill that, we're never going to have a cure for cancer or, maybe the next form of space travel. We don't know. Thanks for calling from North Carolina. Let's go to Dan the Man in Canada. Go ahead, Dan.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. What's it like in Canada right now?
Well, I live in a small town called Annapolis Royal. It's in Nova Scotia. Do you know where Nova Scotia is? Yeah. Well, yesterday we had all day snow. Today it's not too bad. Okay, I'll get to my question or my. Well,
we have less than a minute.
Okay, here we go. Okay, don't you find? Hey, Jake, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How you doing, Dan?
Just wanted to say, this whole thing about coming out about Trump and these women coming forward, we know they're all paid by the Democrats. They're not legit. But don't you find, I find myself that it's like we're watching like a rerun from way back when it was like candidate Trump.
It's the Trump rotation.
Yeah, it's like a,
this is a dance.
They're running out of it. They got to recycle.
They're like, what's next on the list? Oh, let's bring out the women again. All right. And then it's going to be, he's unfit to serve. He drinks Diet Coke. We're going to have more. Thanks for calling Dan from Canada. We'll be right back. INFOWARS.com/show.
Welcome back. You're at the War Room, and I'm broadcasting, joining my colleague Rob Dew from our new New York bureau. It is all eyes turned toward Alabama, as the callers have indicated. And many of the InfoWarriors are confused about the spate of late polls. Having spent 40 years in the vineyards in American politics, I urge all of our listeners to take all polling with a certain grain of salt. Polling can be affected by the sample size, the formulation of the questions, the order of the questions, and so on. And therefore, no two polls are equal, and it is very hard to say exactly what turnout will look like. So all polls have to be viewed with a certain level of skepticism. I think most of you remember that the polls showed at the end of the presidential campaign that President Trump lagged in almost all of them. That's because the pollsters, in some cases honestly and in other cases dishonestly, were missampling who would actually vote. So today, in my view, is probably a toss-up with perhaps a slight edge to Judge Moore, given the historical trend and history of the state. Also in the news, incredibly, is this charge by former Governor Arne Carlson of Minnesota that Al Franken should stay in the U.S. Senate because of allegations that Roger Stone, yours truly, coached Leanne Tweeden, the very first of 6 or is it 7 women who have come forward to accuse Franken of sexual assault. Since I am no longer on Twitter, where I had 300,000 followers, I'm like a man with one arm tied behind his back, forcing me to take to Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and other social media outlets to correct the record. Just to be very clear, a message for Governor Carlson, for whom, by the way, I have a very high regard. I think you've been pranked. I have never met Leanne Tweeden. I have never communicated in any way with Leanne Tweeden. I have never spoken to Leanne Tweeden. I have not spoken to anyone around Leanne Tweeden. The supposition put forward by actor Tom Arnold that I somehow coordinated with a co-worker of hers, John Phillips of KABC Radio in Los Angeles, is completely and totally false. Just because I've appeared on Phillips' radio show a number of times and also hold him in high regard does not mean that he is my source. In fact, I will go so far as to say he is most definitely not my source. To further clarify this, let me say that my source is at Fox News in New York. Just because I broke this story 6 hours ahead of the mainstream media, INFOWARS, tomorrow's news today, does not mean that I am in any way the source of this story. My only involvement is as a journalist, reporting it for you right here at INFOWARS, and also shortly in the same time frame for Big League Politics. They have graciously allowed me to post on their Twitter feed when there are matters of great importance. So,
and Roger, if I could jump in 1 second. Roger, let me jump in 1 second. You got sure, Tom Arnold attacking you. This guy is essentially a gold digger, no career, kind of a hack who kind of glommed onto Roseanne back in the 90s. And now he's going around telling people where you like to eat and telling them they should go and confront you there. I mean, he's literally really inviting people. It's unbelievable. And you're not even telling people this. It's unbelievable. You got a guy kind of cyber stalking you, essentially.
Well, and I was having lunch with 2 friends, one an African-American and one a Caucasian. He called my friends Ebony and Ivy. I think that's a racist. Yeah, it's very, very weird. But to tell you the truth, Rob, I think he's trying to promote ticket sales for a gig he has at the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard. They're probably not selling too briskly given the status of his career.
I would agree. And that sort of follows what Michael Moore's Broadway show did. Made less than half of what it could have made. 50% less ticket sales. So there was 50% seats open every show, essentially. Totally.
Now, I will say this. To their credit, when I contacted the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, they did add my denials to their story. But once the horse is out of the barn, it's very hard. If you go online now, you'll find dozens of copycat stories in which the good governor says that Franken should stay in office because of allegations that Stone coached his victim. Just to be clear, I have never met Miss Tweeden, and I never communicated with her in any way. I had a very good source, and I reported it here first at InfoWars.
That's right. And I also got the news as well and tweeted it out right around the time you did. And because I trust my sources, unlike CNN, I shouldn't be trusting theirs.
Now is probably not a bad time to mention that if you like what we're doing here at the War Room, and if you like our expansion, if you like the broadcasts yesterday from our new Miami bureau or our new New York bureau where I am today, please go to the InfoWars store. Go to the website store where we have extraordinary specials for Christmas. My all-time favorite, Brain Force Plus at 50% off. Buy a case of this and send it to your favorite libtard. They need it. I can tell you that I find this product to be most effective in terms of giving you both mental energy and clarity. And in all honesty, given the many hours we put in here at InfoWars, the War Room broadcast would probably not be as lively as it is without popping a couple of Brain Force Plus capsules. And this price at $19.95 is a $20 saving. This is a 4.5 star, a little better, reviewed product and symptomatic of the great savings available on the InfoWars.com store. Another favorite in the Stone household is the fluoride-free Super Blue line of oral products, toothpaste, mouthwash, and so on. These are far, far superior to anything you can find in your local drugstore. And the difference between buying at CVS and Walgreens and buying with InfoWars is you will be supporting the counter-revolution, or the revolution as it were. We are the tip of the spear. And if you like our expansion here at InfoWars, please do your Christmas shopping at the InfoWars site store. It is the very, very best of the best. Alex Jones does not put up anything for sale that isn't rigorously tested and the best of its genre. And if you want to give a particularly good present, my book, The Making of the President, How Donald Trump Orchestrated an American Revolution, is available on the website now. Rob?
And Roger, talking about the long hours we put in, we do 10 hours a day normally. But today, we're going to do probably 14 or 15 hours live, going all the way up to 10 p.m., starting at 8 a.m. with Real News with David Knight, then going into the Alex Jones Show. And here you are now at the War Room. Well, after this, we're going to do our special coverage of the Alabama Senate race, Roy Vore versus Dougie Jones. And I just said, well, I'm going to leave my thoughts about Doug Jones on the floor there and just let you know tonight, starting up right at the end of this, we're going to be picking it up on the other studio with Alex Jones and a special guest. I'm sure Roger will also be popping in with his analysis and information. And we will be back, I guess, in the next segment. Do you want to start taking some of these calls that we still have on here, Roger, or did you have a guest?
That's a great idea, Rob. Let's go to the call board.
We're going to go to Frank in Nevada first because he wants to talk about voting. We also have Nick and Reese in Texas as well. So we got a lot more callers if you want to join in. 888-201-2244, 888-201-2244. You got Rob Dew, you got Roger Stone. We're both going to be answering your questions on the other side of this short break. Don't forget to go to InfoWarsStore.com and check out the great products that we do have. Thanks for watching. InfoWars, InfoWars.com/show. Almost ran out of breath.
Welcome back. You're at the right place. That's right. It's the War Room with your hosts this evening, Roger Stone and Rob Dew. Rob, let's go to the call board. This is one of my favorite aspects of InfoWars, when we have a dialogue with the Info Warriors. Who do we have on deck?
Exactly, from all over the United States and all over the world. Before we do that, though, I just want to show this little tweet from Kristen Gillibrand, who's saying President Trump should resign, but of course he won't hold himself accountable. Therefore, Congress should investigate the multiple sexual harassment and assault allegations against him. Oh, and look what the good tweeters out there started tweeting back to her. Oh, here she is with Bill Clinton, a rapist. And here she is again. And, oh, Harvey Weinstein. Where's that hand, Harvey? Where is it? Anything for the money, right, Kristen? It only depends on which side of the aisle the sexual assaulter is when you go after them. So with that, let's go to Frank in Nevada. Frank, how are you doing today?
You guys are the most awesome. I want to just plug my little brother's band called the Deplorable Rock and Roll Band. Look it up on YouTube. They got a song called Hillary, You're Killing Me, and then another song, the CNN News Blues. Okay, huge news. There's a company called Switch. Wiki has got that on it. Switch, parentheses, company. It's the largest supercomputer system. They got several facilities, and what they make Google and Microsoft look like nothing, and they're literally bigger than the NSA. They need to be exposed, and also Rob Roy needs to be brought to a trial because he bought an old Enron property and nobody else was told about it. So that's insider trading. There's the globalist headquarters for data is in Nevada. Switch, you're busted. The other thing, as far as voting is concerned, I want made in America voting machines. No more Manila crap. No more foreign-made voting machines. Made in USA voting machines before next presidential election. Next thing, we want freestanding voting machines with no Wi-Fi connection. And then third, I want a receipt from my vote. Just like a pack of cigarettes or a roll of toilet paper, I want a receipt. So ask the president, please, let's make a bunch of voting machines made in the USA, no Wi-Fi connections, and a receipt. And the largest data control center and artificial intelligence manufacturing facility is in Nevada. The globalists have set up. It's a fact.
Because there's a great place to get a lot of money.
Well, the problem is that Soros and everybody's planted. They have about 10 facilities, and they're disguising it as an energy company, but it's the supercomputer. They stored everybody's data, everything. They make Google and Microsoft look like nothing. And inside workers, whistleblowers started talking, and so it needs an investigation. And then you guys with InfoWars, we need, in every single state, we need a branch office for InfoWars. We need to start bouncing satellite feeds on our own so the internet has no more control over us. You guys are the greatest. We love you. God bless you. Have a happy holiday.
Well, thank you, Frank. And I would like to add to that paper trail, also, you need to have an ID to vote because you need an ID to buy a pack of cigarettes or get on an airplane or drive a car or check out a library book. So why not have an ID to vote when you're going to determine the future of our country? Roger?
The caller has raised a very good point, something I spoke about here on InfoWars during the last election, and that is the simplicity of hacking into these individual voting machines. They are really essentially just a primitive computer. There's a device that you can get at Best Buy or used to be able to get at Radio Shack for $15 that allows you to hack into the machines. Now, fortunately, the machines are not all connected to a central national server, in which case the abuses would be even more potential. But still, the entire question of voter machine manipulation as opposed to voter theft and voter fraud, entire different issue, is entirely real. Yes, we need a paper trail of votes. Yes, we need greater accountability, but in these urban areas where all the machines are connected to a central server, manipulation of the machines is quite simple. The only way it can be combated or even detected is by accurate exit polling that can be compared to the machine totals. I think that the election board officials should do such exit polling just to check the raw numbers against the machines.
Excellent analysis, Roger. Let's go now to Nick in Michigan. Let's talk about geoengineering. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing great.
I appreciate you taking my call on the subject. I know it's a little off topic for what you guys have been talking about today, but
no, we all breathe air, buddy.
Yeah, I guess if you could title my call, you'd want to say, what are we facing right now? I mean, catastrophic-wise, I'd say this is honestly the number one existential threat that we might be going against right now. I know a guest you had on recently, Dane Wigington, he's kind of covered it, but not much else has been said on the show. And it's kind of worrying because it's something that we might be facing here in less than 10 years. Two of the main things were ozone depletion and intense solar radiation or intense UV. And I know we all felt that a lot lately, sun being so hot on the skin. But 2 readings he had were UVB and UVC radiation, both showing up, and you're not supposed to see either of these readings on the surface. And he's with a NASA engineer, and they're saying about 6 to 8 years, we're looking at total crop loss. So that'd be no food in the stores, and that's going to hit everybody hard here if we don't look at this and act upon it. And I mean, if we looked at it from the way of what can Trump do about it, it's almost to the point of have him send people to the Air Force bases and monitor what's going on here, because these are nationally operating planes. They're operating worldwide, but they are using our air bases and landing and refueling and operating from there. But an interesting topic I want to point out was the Paris Climate Treaty. You guys have covered it a lot.
Yeah, and hey, before you continue, what website are you getting your UV information from, so we can put it up on the screen for people?
Geoengineeringwatch.org.
Okay, and it's the UV what and the UV? There's 2 different types of UV rays.
UVB was actually a reading he took 3 years ago, was 80%, and you're only supposed to see about 5 to 10 on the surface. And then UVC, you should be seeing about 0. Or I'm sorry, you should not be seeing any of that on the surface. Not getting a reading whatsoever. He's taking about 5 to 7% on that, and that's the one that sticks out right there. As everyone needs to see that as a sore thumb and realize that things are bad here. But the Paris Climate Treaty, it's just an article that was on Yahoo. I don't know if they're trying to put it out mainstream-wise. That thing is completely relying on solar radiation management and carbon dioxide removal, both geoengineering, and that's 4 degrees Celsius raised by 2100 is what the whole climate treaty is about, and that's completely, if you look in the fine print about it in the article, like I said, mainstream, I don't know if they're trying to put it out, is completely based on using those 2 technologies to meet that goal, and they're not proven. And if you see the skies, you see that they've gone ahead and tried to do the solar radiation management and what to do.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're about to go to break, and I'll hold you over if you want to hold over and you have more information. But a lot of that, a lot of those models that the Paris Climate Treaty is using are all based on computer models, which have, just selected data inputted in. They're not really looking at all the data out there. Computer models can't predict anything. But geoengineering is a big problem, and we have talked about it in the past. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back after the short break. INFOWARS.com/show. You're watching The War Room.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs.
Only Rosie O'Donnell. And they said that wasn't politically correct. Who cares? You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. I think Jeb is a nice person. He's very low energy. I'm not used to that kind of a person. Throw him out. Throw him out into the cold. Don't give them their coat. No coats. L-Y-I-N apostrophe. Lion dead. I have never seen a human being eat in such a disgusting fashion. The most dishonest human beings. These people right here. Look at all the cameras. So disgusting. This socialist / communist. Crazy Bernie. He's crazy as a bedbug. Who, Pocahontas? The Indian.
Very offensive.
I'm sorry about that. Pocahontas? Crooked Hillary. Crooked Hillary, Bob. She's been crooked from the beginning. Crooked Hillary. Politicians are really dishonest. Yeah.
Donald Trump alleges that my dad was involved in assassinating JFK.
This had nothing to do with me, except I might have pointed it out. This guy was sweating so badly. Thank God he has really large ears, the biggest ears I've ever seen, because they were protecting him. I'm trying to be nice. I'm working hard to be nice. He was begging for my endorsement. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He would have dropped to his knees. He put glasses on so people will think he's smart. It just doesn't work. People can see through the glasses. I'll make 3 or 4 major speeches. He makes a speech for 15 minutes. He goes home, goes to bed. We live off Chinese manufacturing. That's because when you say we, you are stupid. Repeat after me.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
mommy. Tell her to tuck you in bed. And your mother is voting for Trump? She's voting for Trump? True.
And there you have it. That is the promo for The Art of the Insult, a hysterical new documentary film by the filmmaker Joel Gilbert, who joins us now. Joel, welcome to the War Room. You're with Roger Stone, and sitting in for my colleague Owen Schroyer, the great Rob Dew. Welcome to the War Room.
Hey, thanks for having me, Roger. Great to be back.
I see your shirt is a little more subdued today.
Yeah, I went with a straight country western rather than the American flag, but it'll be back soon.
All right. So I can't help but chuckle every time I watch that trailer because Trump is so politically incorrect and so devastatingly effective with the put down. His ability to capsulize little Marco, crooked Hillary. I'm reminded when Maxine Waters actually came forward and said, oh, the Russians told Donald Trump to call her crooked Hillary. No, Maxine, believe me, crooked Hillary is the appellation dreamed up by Donald Trump himself.
That's correct. Trump really put on a show for, 4 or 5 months. I call it the Trumpapalooza tour. He would fly in on his big airplane with maybe 2 or 3 other people and appear at these airplane hangars and put on performance art for 2 or 3 hours at a time. He would try out different routines. It was physical comedy with new names every other day. Of course, there was, we saw Lion Ted, Marco Rubio, Little Marco, Low Energy Jeb. John Kasich was 1 for 41. He only won 1 primary but refused to leave the race. Of course, Pocahontas, on and on. Elizabeth Warren tried to fight back on Twitter and usually failed. Typically, anybody that Trump gave a brand name to was out of the race within about 4 to 6 weeks. So it was an incredible approach to political campaigning that isolated and narrowed down and defined his opponents. I got an email from somebody that said, Saul Alinsky works for us now. And he really does fight. That's why people voted for him. That's why middle America fell in love with him, because they were looking for a fighter, someone who would not back down to Hillary and who would never apologize.
My friends find this hard to believe when I try to explain it to them, but having known Donald Trump for almost 40 years, and putting aside the question of his fearlessness and his toughness, he's one of the toughest men I have ever met. He's hysterically funny. He is fun to be with. He's self-deprecating, he's easygoing, and he has a wicked sense of humor. And you could see throughout the entire campaign that he was enjoying himself. When you looked at Jeb Bush, for example, you could see it was a guy who regarded this whole exercise as drudgery. It was kind of like, Father, tell them it's my turn to be king.
Please clap.
And you could tell that he viewed campaigning as almost beneath him. You can see that Trump loves people. He loves the crowd. He is energized by the crowds. And of course, then there's his devastating wit. He is indeed the Don Rickles of American politics.
No question. I thought I understood Trump. I followed Trump. I followed the campaign. I read books about him. I spoke to people who knew him, like yourself, and I thought I understood him. Only when I put the film together where you can see back to back his entire approach to the campaign from the get-go was to speak from the heart, to be very authentic, to counterpunch. If anybody attacked him, he would pretty much do away with them very quickly. And he did it in a way that was fun. He was having a great time, and he really had nothing to lose. He was doing something for the people. He didn't need to do this. He didn't need to run for president, but he believed in a mission, and the mission was make America great again, reverse the radical left agenda that Barack Obama had implemented and imposed on the American people. That's one reason people were very receptive to an outsider like Trump, because Barack Obama told everybody he's going to cut the deficit in half. Marriage is between a man and a woman and God. Obamacare is not a tax. everything was a lie on Obama's agenda. Both his agenda was an intentional lie, and his background, of course. You've seen my other film, Dreams from My Real Father, where I showed that the Kenyan Obama was not even his real father. In fact, it was Frank Marshall Davis, the Soviet agent who raised him in Hawaii and radicalized him. So the public were fed up with the lies from Obama and the media, and Trump was authentic. He said what he said, and he meant what he said, and he had a great time doing it. And the media and really the protesters played into his hands. Protesters would show up at these rallies and try to disrupt it, but Trump would just smile and say, look over there. And he really fooled the media, along with using the protesters to serve up about $2 billion in free earned media advertising. So when you watch The Art of the Insult, which you can see the trailer, it's hilarious, at artoftheinsult.com, and we are shipping the DVDs every day for Christmas, you'll really understand Trump as a very authentic person who cares deeply about America and wants to achieve great things for the American people. And you can see him continuing what he was doing during the campaign. He's branded and labeled people like, of course, Kim Jong-il is Little Rocket Man. Senator Jeff Flake is Flake Jeff Flake. Frederica Wilson, the wacky, called her, I think, Wacky Wilson. Of course, crying Chuck Schumer, on and on. So we're seeing
CNN is fake news. That's another one. Like, just labeling all the mainstream media fake news, I think, is just a coup de grace these last couple of weeks that he's been able to attain. We're going to be right back after this short break with the filmmaker Joel Gilbert. You got Roger Stone, you got myself, you got Joel Gilbert. We'll all be right back after this short break. INFOWARS.com/show is the free stream to send to everybody you know. All right, we are back live on the War Room. Our guest today is Joel Gilbert. We've had him on the show many times. You may remember him from Dreams of My Real Father. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Jerome Corsi, talking about the bombshell evidence that the CIA may have had a role in going in and hacking the Hawaii Department of Health before the question of the birth certificate came up. So this should be very interesting. We're going to have him on. He's got a really lengthy article on INFOWARS.com. But let's go back to Joel Gilbert and Roger Stone. Joel's got a new movie, Trump, Art of the Insult, that is out right now. And we were just going over some of the names Trump has been giving people, like Megyn Kelly, bleeding from her wherever. Jeff Flake, Al Frankenstein, Wacky Wilson, which is Frederica Wilson, Crying Chuck, and Psycho Joe. Let's continue with that. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I was very disappointed when Al Franken announced that he was stepping down from the Senate, because I really thought that he was going to reach out to the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein, and ask her to run for vice president in a 2020 ticket, the Frankenstein ticket. Unfortunately, it appears that that is not to be. Joel, I have, yes, rim shot, please. I have bought this DVD for Christmas for many of the members of my friends and family, and I know they have been selling briskly since we brought them to public attention here at the InfoWars, but tell people again where they can go to get this hysterically funny film. When my wife and I watched it, we had to keep rolling it back and replaying because we were laughing so hard at the last joke that we missed the next joke.
Yeah, that's what happens. Look, the street date where it's going to be available on Amazon streaming on demand is going to be January 23rd. But only for now, you can get the DVD and have it shipped and arrive before Christmas from artoftheinsult.com. And everyone just go check out the trailer again, read the reviews, and you can buy the DVD and we'll ship it the next day. I think it really is a great lesson in branding and marketing, as well as being hysterically funny. You can understand finally how Trump, with 3 guys on a giant airplane and an office with no campaign workers and a great marketing plan, was able to trump, if you will, Ted Cruz with $92 million of money. He had an office in Houston with 200 cubicles, chairman in every state, chairman in every county. and a marketing plan was able to defeat this mainstream Republican-style campaign, as well as, of course, Jeb Bush and everybody else. It's just a fascinating thing. You know, Roger, that Trump was really in the entertainment business for many years. He had promoted professional boxing, owned the USFL team, pro wrestling, Miss America, Miss Universe, The Apprentice. So he had seen and done it all when it came to marketing and hype. And he was able to easily dispatch his opponents with very few good concepts.
Hey, Joel, I got a quick question for you. At what point in the process, watching this campaign unfold and everything going on around you, did you go, I have to make a movie about this? Was it one particular insult? Was it one joke that like kind of kicked off this idea? Because, you know, Trump's only been campaigning since late 2015. You know, this had to be a new idea. It didn't just, you know, how did it pop in your head?
Look, at first, I was a Cruz supporter for much of the campaign and advised him along the way. But I would say that right from the get-go, when Megyn Kelly went after Trump at the first debate and accused him of calling women fat dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals, and he answered, only Rosie O'Donnell, and everybody laughed, I kind of felt it was over right there, because he showed that he had quick wit, he was good at counterpunching, and people appreciated his humor. You know, a week later, he told Jorge Ramos from Univision, you know, go back to Univision, and didn't apologize. So I kind of felt that it was probably over right there, that Trump would capture the hearts of America because he was such a fighter.
Excellent.
Well,
and that's why I said this has got to be a movie.
The fact that he came back with that rejoinder for Megyn Kelly demonstrates his fearlessness. A career politician would have retreated. A career politician would have apologized or tried to clarify. For Trump, there was no such road. He is entirely fearless. And from the beginning, he believed that the American people were ready for something different, that they were tired of the career politicians. They were tired of the wet finger in the wind brand of Republican politics, where people sought to run to the polls or the focus groups to find what to say in order to be popular. I think even when he made errors, even when he was incorrect, I think voters appreciated the fact that he was authentic, that he was genuine, that he wasn't trying to be somebody he isn't. He is, I must tell you, exactly the same in private as he is in public. There is only one Donald Trump, and you can tell he's having the time of his life.
I think it was obvious. I think something interesting that happened way back. I know Trump had been watching the presidential races even since 2000, I think, when you helped him to run for the Reform Party nomination for president some years back. He continually watched the presidential race. I had been to CPAC year after year, and Trump always would come and speak, and you could tell that he wanted to be part of the process when the time was right for him. I would say that the public was ready for an outsider. And Ted Cruz really at first was the anti-establishment hero. He was the one that stood up to Obamacare, the filibuster. He read Green Eggs and Ham from the Senate floor. But when it came to putting the campaign together, I even told him, just be Ted Cruz, the outsider, the rebel. You know, Mr. Cruz goes to Washington. But instead, Cruz went to a mainstream campaign direction and tried to show that he was more mainstream. So I think Trump came along and took up that space that Cruz had initially occupied and basically said, oh, if you don't want to be Ted Cruz, I'll be Ted Cruz. And he took the idea and ran with it, and people responded very favorably. The Republican establishment was way far to the left of the grassroots. The grassroots had moved very far to the right by the time the election started, and nobody understood it except for Trump. And I think when you watch The Art of the Insult, that will bear itself out.
One of the more incredible things about Trump's victory, something I wrote about extensively in The Making of the President 2016, is the fact that he didn't spend a fortune on polls. To my knowledge, in the nomination phase of the campaign, he didn't take any polls, which is unheard of. That means that he was operating solely on his gut, on his instinct, The Bush campaign, for example, even the Cruz campaign, spent a small fortune on sophisticated public opinion polling to help them shape their message. I think it makes the president's accomplishment and winning the greatest upset in American political history even the more incredible, unpredictable, unlikely, and phenomenal. This is a man who was completely attuned with the voters without any of the traditional accoutrements of a campaign. He won without polling. He won without paid television advertising. He won without an avalanche of sophisticated targeted direct mail. It was really the Donald Trump show. Donald Trump has no strategist. Donald Trump is his own strategist. There is no Karl Rove in Trump land. It is him, and all credit belongs to him. His survival instinct is extraordinary, and he is a fighter. So, Joel Gilbert, thanks for joining us here on The War Room with my co-host, Rob Dew. And I urge you to pick up this terrific DVD for your Christmas stocking. But at the same time, folks, please do a stop by at the INFOWARS store, where we have extraordinary Christmas specials, including the entire line of super blue fluoride-free oral products, including the toothpaste, my all-time favorite, Brain Force Plus, at 50% off, an entire host of First Amendment-oriented T-shirts, including the anti-fascist, anti-communist T-shirt, my favorite. These make terrific Christmas gifts for the members of your family who are patriots or free-thinking libertarians. You help yourself, but you help us expand this coverage. Special coverage tonight on the special election in Alabama with Alex Jones. I hope to be popping on. Rob, final thoughts?